Well, you're joining us once again for our election series here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. It's 2024, and we've got offices that are running for election from the president to U.S. Senate to Congress, and yes, here in our local area for mayor. Joining us, we have Councilman Carey running for mayor of Chesapeake. It's Stay the Water. I'm your host, Dr. Eric LaVille. Stay with us, and we'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back. It's Stay the Water. I'm your host, Dr. Eric LaVille. As always, I want to thank you for joining us and for, as you always do on Sunday, as we broadcast from the beautiful Hampton Roads, Virginia, from the campus of the Norfolk State University, home of the Spartan Nation, from none other than WNSB, Hot 91, the soul of VA. Well, we hope all of you have enjoyed your Labor Day break and you're back to work laboring to end the year. You know, it was a great summer, great time. So we pray that you can remain safe and blessed as God blesses you to conclude this 2024 year. Also, another epic battle of Big State, Little State is in the books. We want to thank Virginia State for coming down and being with us here on yesterday, you know, as we hosted the Labor Day Classic game. It's always a good time, always a great time to bring two great HBCUs together. Of course, you know, I feel like I'm at the best one. I know I'm at the best one. That's Norfolk State. And we support Virginia State because one of our sons attends Virginia State, the others at Howard. So it's all love in the HBCU community up in this house. So, but when we talk about HBCU support, you know, we have many alums that support and love their institution. But we've got one right now on the line that I think loves his institution probably just as much or more than anybody else. But also, he not only gives back, but he's giving back to the community in what he does now as city councilman. And we have none other than former NFL star and now city councilman of the city of Chesapeake, Carey. NSU alum. How you feel this morning, sir?
Well, grace and peace. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to come on your show. I'm feeling real good.
We appreciate it. Look, thank you for sharing some of your Sunday with us. I know that ministry is part of your life and family as well. So we appreciate you for coming on and talking to the community. Tell us a little bit more about the next office that you're seeking to serve the people. But when we talk about Carey, before we get into that, Carey, the councilman, you're running for mayor and the like, I want to give you the opportunity, and I'd like to give everyone an opportunity to let us know who you are. Who is Carey? What do you want the people to know about you?
Sure. So, and thanks for this. I was raised in Norfolk, Virginia. I went to Booker T. Washington High School, and I was blessed to go to Norfolk State University, the first person in my family to go to college. So when I graduated Norfolk State, in 2009, I was drafted into the NFL, and the Lord allowed me to play 10 years in the National Football League.
Wow.
During that time, I received numerous awards, one of which was the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award for my commitment to the community. My wife and I founded the Don Carey Reach Foundation, in which we utilize sports to educate inner city youth about the job opportunities that existed for them. So we were operating both in Detroit and here in the Hampton Roads area. Outside of football, I'm a licensed minister in my church. I serve at Calvary Reformation Church on Great Bridge Boulevard. Married to my beautiful bride, Lakeisha Carey, who's an attorney, for 10 years. We have 4 beautiful children, Victor, Amelia, Asher, and Eliana.
Well, look, you've had a great career so far, and you decided, and God's blessed you tremendously. But not only that, but you also decided to give back to the community. When you decided to run for city council, you know, what did you see was a need for your community?
Sure. So when we were working within the inner city, in the city of Chesapeake, it was mainly in the northern part of the city. So we were working in Oscar Smith Middle School, Oscar Smith High School, and Thurgood Elementary. We were just seeing a lack of hope, right? It was, people not knowing what the economic opportunities were, people not feeling as if they had safety within their community, people feeling as if their voices were unheard in City Hall. And I was tired of complaining. And I said, you know what, instead of continuing to complain with the barbershop talk, I'm going to put my hat in the ring and see if I can assist these people that I deeply care about in getting the basic services that all citizens should enjoy within this country. And by God's grace, when we ran in 2020, we were the highest vote getter in the history of the city for a May election.
Wow. When you mentioned hope, that's a big theme right now that we're hearing in the country. Of course, we just had the unfortunate school shooting in Georgia. Once again, another community broken. Of course, in the city of Chesapeake, we had, unfortunately, the shooting at Walmart, and then, of course, in Virginia Beach. So when you talk about hope and lack of hope, and you wanting to bring hope, there's a lot of availability, to bring that hope. You also bring hope. I know we talked before the show, and part of what we want to talk about, but I think this kind of segues into your foundation. When you part of what you do, you said you have, of course, to give back to your community as a public servant, but you also found a need to give back to kids. And as a partner with Norfolk State, we've hosted some of your events here, but, it's been a tremendous, tremendous impact. Tell us a little bit about why Reach Foundation and why is it so important to continue and do it for the kids?
Sure. So I'll tell you, when my early years in life, my mother raised me and my sisters by herself. And it was because of the generosity of our next door neighbor. His name was Mr. Terrence Rembert, who would kind of fill in to be that male figure that I needed to kind of help me be disciplined, to help me to be respectful, to make sure I stayed out of the gangs in my area. That really showed me what a real man was. And it wasn't until my mother married my stepfather in 2004 that I had a consistent male figure within my life. And he was a retired military Navy veteran, and he really instilled within me those crucial life skills, those power skills that need to be successful.
Wow.
So I am successful now because there were people who sowed into my life when I was young. And I hold this principle that true success is not only defined by the number of milestones I achieve for myself, but also by the number of people I reach back and pull along the way.
That's the true mark, of success, making sure that not that you get to where you are, but like you said, bringing others with you. How many years of your foundation has been in operation?
So we've been working since 2011. We started off as an adult literacy program in the city of Detroit, actually. So 40% of the kids' parents in the schools that we were working in Detroit could not read. So we were saying, man, it's going to be hard to help these kids get ahead educationally if their parents themselves can't read. So we started off in 2011 as an adult literacy program. Once we began to help that situation grow, we passed it on to a more capable organization, and we moved into the elementary schools. We've been working here in Hampton Roads, my God, since 2014, 2015. And we since I retired in 2018, moved all of our operation down here. So we solely work in Hampton Roads now.
Wow. And how many kids do you think you've impacted so far?
But since the existence of the program?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Maybe 30, 40,000.
Wow.
At the height of the organization, we were having events in Michigan, North Carolina, Mississippi, Louisiana, Florida, and, of course, Virginia. But again, once I retired and we started having children of our own, I didn't have the bandwidth to continue to move around the country and host these events. So we had to make a decision to bring our resources here to Virginia, and then I could assist other NFL players who lived in those areas to kind of establish themselves and giving back to the community.
Absolutely. Again, I want our audience to hear that because, it just shows just the conviction of one person doing one thing, how you can make an indelible impact, not just in your community, but as you said, across multiple states and the amount of children that you've impacted. So I thank you for giving back. Thank you for the work that you and your family, your wife are doing in the community to, again, show them that there is opportunity and hope in a better way. So now you've served as city council. We know you love your institution, you give back, and you have your foundation. But now you say there's a call for a higher office. So Doug Carey has announced that he is running for mayor of the city of Chesapeake. Why mayor?
So I'll tell you, this is not something that I initially thought to run for. You know, when I joined council, my focus was going to be on public safety. My focus was going to be on workforce development. And by God's grace, I've kept my promise to the people. I've established the largest workforce development program in the history of the city of Chesapeake. Now, every single year, no less than 3,500 eighth graders learn about the viable job pathways that exist for them right here. And I've led safety task force in some of the most crime-ridden areas of the city, oftentimes having to go work with the gang leaders, you know, in order to bring peace in the Campostella Square area of our city. But what I also learned is, man, Chesapeake is an exceptional place to live, learn, work, farm, and play. But the issues are so nuanced. The population has grown so large that to really tackle these issues, you have to do it from a mayor's position. The councilman can't do it alone. The leader of the city has to be at the forefront of fighting for these issues. And I just don't feel as if the current leadership is able to do that. I mean, he hasn't shown a willingness or ability to do that since being elected in 2017 as mayor. Therefore, I believe the job demands more. And if no one else is going to stand up for the call, I will.
When you talk about answering the call, you know, there are many things that you mentioned that you do. So one, you said public safety, affordable housing, and the like. You know, let's talk about first and foremost the issues that you are championing as mayor. So let's look at affordable housing. Now, one of the major issues that we're finding in Hampton Roads is the lack of affordable housing. Of course, we have this. You grew up in Norfolk. So you said you went to Booker T, you graduated from Booker T, you graduated from Norfolk State. You are I know you live in Chesapeake, but you're Norfolk bred and raised. But with that, you see the displacement of people. And some people say displacement of poverty and gentrification is happening in the city of Norfolk and just the unaffordability of housing. How do you feel that this, as mayor, you can help to bring affordable housing to the great city of Chesapeake?
Sure. So, again, you mentioned that housing is an issue everywhere in Hampton Roads. So I don't want to make it seem as if this is something we're dealing with uniquely in the city of Chesapeake. But what we are dealing with uniquely in the city of Chesapeake is that housing is more unaffordable in Chesapeake than it is any other place in Hampton Roads. And it simply is policy-based. Chesapeake likes the single-family home, half-acre lot communities. And when you're in a hot housing market like we are now, where the pricing of homes single-family homes is high, if you don't have a diverse pool of housing for your citizens to choose from, you price those who would any other way be able to afford a house out of the market. So because we have such a dearth of single-family homes, and we don't have condos, or we don't have townhomes, or we don't have apartment complexes, if you're not able to spend that $300,000-$400,000 on a home, you're priced out of the marketplace. So that directly impacts the millennial generation, my generation. That directly impacts Gen Zs. That directly impacts our elders. And so just by us switching our policy focus and diversifying the housing types that we have within our city, it helps to bring the cost down. Now, you see other cities doing this, actually. You see Norfolk and Virginia Beach and Suffolk and Portsmouth doing all they can to diversify the housing types to help bring the price down. Chesapeake is the only city on the south side that has not taken the call up to diversify its housing.
Wow. You know, when we talk about success, when we talk about raising good children, good families, housing is at the top of the list. I mean, you got to have a safe community. You got to have shelter. And you have to be able to, again, operate through the day. And housing is up there. But the other part of that, and I call it a four-legged stool, and part of it is housing. And the other part is workforce, having a good job. Part of your vision is to build a robust and dynamic workforce that powers the city's economy. You've done some work at City Council. How do you believe you can continue that as mayor?
So, yes, the Chesapeake World of Works is the initiative that you're mentioning. It is what I mentioned earlier as my workforce development program. Well, one thing that I've been focused on as a council member is trying to get council to decide what it wants to be when it grows up. What do we want our city to look like? What kind of industry are we going to try to bring within the city? Because once we make that decision, we then can start training our workforce to go after those jobs, those careers that can be transformational, not only for themselves, but for the children that come after them. The Chesapeake World of Works is just a start. You know, we know that our children now have to make these critical decisions on what they want to do when they grow up in middle school now, 8th grade. Because when they get to high school, they go to different magnet schools now that are specific based. So if you're in grad field, you're going to focus on STEM, for example. If you, my alma mater, Booker T is the Booker T. Washington School of the Arts now, right? So you have to make these decisions in high school. I mean, in middle school, what you want to do when you grow up. I think the sooner we decide the type of industries we want to go after, and we can begin to prepare our workforce, our future workforce, to be ready to take those jobs on and begin to contribute not only to their own livelihood, but to society in general.
Absolutely. Now, another part of that four-legged stool, what I believe is success for a healthy community, healthy family, is having to ensure that you have good public schools. Now, one thing that Chesapeake is known for is their public schools. Amongst a lot of things, of course, the late, great Bill Ward, who also was a professor here, chair at Norfolk State University, and also a great Kappa man. I got to make sure everybody knows he was a great Kappa man as well. But when you talk about public schools, you know, he helped to really create and forge that economic arm and move Chesapeake to where it is. And one of the staples of Chesapeake is our public schools. But everyone doesn't have the opportunity in Chesapeake to have those good public schools. What do you feel is your role as mayor to ensure that this continues, especially working with the school board and you having experience on the council?
Yes, sir. Well, I would agree. Mayor Ward was, in a lot of ways, the transformational figure that allowed Chesapeake to be what it is today. And it's such an honor to have the potential of stepping in his shoes and really standing on his shoulders and continuing in the legacy of public safety and education. Traditionally, council has given around 50% of its budget to our school system. I will continue to support our school system within our budget. I've done so every single year I've been an elected official. But I agree with you. I think we need to do a better job of having a positive relationship with our school board. As of now, we don't. We rarely ever talk to our school board. And when we do get together for a school board council joint meeting, they're very awkward and oftentimes unproductive. I think council should play a greater role in making sure that all of our schools have the adequate resources necessary to be successful. Now, I'm not talking about establishing curriculum. The school board does that. What I'm saying is we can at least make sure the building is good, right, and not crumbling or falling apart around our students' heads. And there are ways that we can assist with additional funding in that, and I will be looking to do that as mayor.
And then the other part of that four-legged stool is, once again, and you mentioned this before your work, but public safety and also neighborhoods. You know, as you mentioned as part of your platform, you know, safety is paramount. You know, of course, you know, we need our law enforcement to maintain and to patrol and to keep our community safe. At the same time, we also need our law enforcement and our communities to be partners. As your role as mayor, how do you find your role in creating that partnership between the communities and law enforcement and ensuring that both are robust and also working together?
Oh, yeah. So thank you so much for that question. This really ties into, along with workforce development, the work that I've done these past 4 years in the northern part, the second precinct of our city. So I'm a huge supporter of our first responders, our police, our sheriff, our fire department. And I, again, make sure I support them in every single budget that we have. But I think the job goes further than just voting on a particular budget. I've been the council member who's been at the front lines of fighting for public safety throughout our entire city, because I think every mother, regardless of where she lives, should have the confidence that if her child goes outside to play, that they're going to come home. So the work that I've been doing is, on one hand, giving the first responders, our police, the resources they need to police effectively. But secondly, I've been doing work with the community to empower them to take control of their community themselves. One example of this is there's an organization called the League of Advocates inside of the Compostela area of our city. They come together to assist the second precinct whenever issues arise, but they were doing so out of their own pocket. My wife and I helped them become a nonprofit, helped them to set up a board, helped them understand how America works in getting grants so that they can have the finances and resources necessary to go assist in building trust with police, in policing themselves, making sure that their community is safe. So I think it's a two-way street, is making sure the police have all of the necessary resources to go police effectively, but it's also working with the community to help build trust with the police officers and to take accountability for themselves in their own place where they live.
Absolutely.
And I'll be looking to duplicate that throughout all the precincts within the city of Chesapeake. I mean, the pilot was in the second precinct, but we definitely can take that and move it along in the third, fourth, and fifth, first precincts within our city. And I'll say this too, Dr. Claville, I want to set up a grant that these nonprofits can go after that is geared towards public safety within a particular precinct. If there is a nonprofit that wants to work with a particular precinct and making sure our community is safe, I think that is something that should be available to them, and we'll set up a grant for them to apply.
Absolutely. Another part, I call that, again, the four-legged stool to a healthy community. You got to have those four things. But there's another part of it, and that is the future. You have what you have now, but the mark of a great leader and great leadership, both collectively and individually, is being able to understand what the next is or could be and being able to plan for it. You mentioned on your platform that you also want to be a champion to plan for the future. We mentioned Bill Ward. That was one that saw Chesapeake for the future and what it could be, and it has become that and much more. You mentioned an inclusive, wholesome community. How do you see Chesapeake, if as mayor, and how would you lead Chesapeake into the future, let's just say 2050? What would Chesapeake be in 2050?
Sure, and that's a great question to ask. I think, and to be honest, our city manager has been trying to get council to answer this question for a while, but I seem to be the only one who is willing to,
right.
to have the conversation. Well, firstly, what is our population going to look like, by 2050 or 2065, which is about 50 years down the road? Chesapeake is going to grow by 40 to 50,000 residents by that time frame, simply because our land is higher than most other cities around us. So when it comes to planning for the future, we have to plan for the infrastructure, the roads, to make sure our roads have the capacity to handle the load that's going to be driving on them. We have to plan for schools and new schools, because we're going to have to eventually redistrict and move children around so that our schools are not overburdened. I think we have to plan to rethink what council looks like itself. Right now, we're an at-large voting system. I have been on the front lines of moving us to a single-member voting district so that we can properly represent the residents who are within our city. It's growing nearly impossible to do our job effectively in the at-large system. We're already at 250,000 residents within the city of Chesapeake, and that's going to grow to around nearly 300,000 here pretty soon. So I think your council, your mayor specifically, should both be able to look at the landscape of what's happening now and bring forth services, programs, solutions, but you should also be looking at the future and be making a game plan for that future as well.
Yeah. like you said, you're the only one that's wanted to talk about it, but you got to plan for the future. That's the only way you're going to see your city grow. But everybody, the saying goes, everybody is not happy for your success. So when you announced that you were running for mayor, everything was kind of good and, as we like to say, copacetic. But then this little lawsuit came up where there was a move for the court to determine whether you can run for mayor or not. Tell us a little bit about that controversy and where do you think that would end?
Sure. So me announcing my candidacy for mayor has upset the current power structure in the city of Chesapeake, who wants to keep things how they are. They want to keep things the way they are. They think Chesapeake is fine and that it works for them. And, hey, I'll be the first to tell you that I love my city. I think Chesapeake is an exceptional place to live, learn, work, farm, and play. But I'm not naive. I know that it is not an exceptional place for everyone, and it's for the reasons we've been talking about today. And that's why I've decided to run for mayor. Well, but this opposition doesn't want to give over this control that they've had over the city for, decades almost at this point. So they're doing everything they can to silence me. First, they wanted to remove me off of council. And when every judge recused themselves so that wouldn't happen, now they say we got to take it a step further and sue him to get his name off the ballot altogether. It's the most egregious thing I've ever seen within our city. Since I've been a resident here, it's anti-democratic. It's disenfranchising not only to myself but to the people that I represent. It's a bold-faced statement that says we don't care about the issues that matter to you and to the people you represent. And, Dr. Clavell, we've heard this song plenty of times in our history. But I tell people my back is strong. I will not yield. I will continue to fight. And I will take every arrow from the opposition to make sure that Chesapeake is an exceptional place to live, learn, work, farm, and play for all of our residents.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, on your Facebook page, you have a link to an actual speech that you gave called Enough is Enough, where Don Carey speaks out against corrupt power plays in Chesapeake. So I encourage our listeners to go to your Facebook page to take a look at that and see exactly a little bit more about how you feel about this situation and what you plan to do as the mayor of Chesapeake. Don, if you could, tell us a little bit more where our listeners can find out more about you, your campaign, and if they can donate to it.
Yes, sir. You definitely can learn more about our campaign at votedoncarey.com. We're on all social media platforms. Don Carey for Mayor, you can find us there. You can contribute to our campaign at votedoncarey.com as well. And let me say, I greatly appreciate this opportunity to, address your listeners. I didn't get involved in politics because I wanted some type of praise or accolades. I got involved in politics because I was tired of complaining, and I have a servant's heart. And if no one else was willing to stand up to answer the call, I would. And when I ran for council, I made promises that I would be sincere, that I would communicate, that I would observe the issues, research the issues, and execute righteous votes, which is the acronym for SCORE. But now that I'm running for mayor, my promise is that I will always be a person that is dedicated to integrity, that is driven by vision, and that's committed to progress. So I humbly ask for your vote September 20th for early voting, November 5th for the actual election day. You can learn more about our campaign at votedoncarey.com.
And Brother Carey, I just want to say that, again, we want to thank you for being a great alum of the institution, a great example of what Norfolk State actually produces. And thank you for the work that you're continuing to do in the community to pay it forward and pay it back and to ensure that our community continues to grow strong men and families like yours. So thank you so much for joining us here on Stay in the Water. And for those of you that are out there, thank you again for listening as you always do. Until next time, be good, be great, God bless, and we'll see you next week.
Hi, I'm Carey Washington, and you're listening to State of the Water with award-winning host Dr. Eric Clavell.